Joining us to go, sir. And good afternoon, I'll endeavor to speak into the mic. I'll make it easier. Can you get everybody to sit down, and I guess we got a couple people coming in. We'll get these guys in, and then we'll begin the proceedings here. So just have that awkward silence for 15 seconds. Actually, we'll let them get in quick. Okay, we'll begin. So good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm Alan Hampton and I will be your MC today. I'd like to thank the Montgomery family for inviting me to be part of the celebration of life for Tom. So in conversation with Michael and Kevin, they noted that their dad would be saying, don't spend a lot of time on the service, let's get celebrating. So in the spirit of Tom, we'll do our best to stick to that formula. So I think first up is going to be Tom's sister Carol, and she's going to deliver the eulogy. So the floor is yours. Please tour up, Carol.
We are here to celebrate the life of my brother, Thomas George Montgomery, better known as Tom. Tom was born July 14, 1951, the eldest son of Vance and Clara Montgomery. He had 6 siblings: myself, Carol Callis of Edmonton, Ellen Dalkey of Fairview. Ellen was unable to be here as she's still recovering from a leg injury. But she asked me to say hi to all of you. Pat Galbraith of Kelowna, Ron Montgomery, who passed away in 2008, Bill Montgomery of Morin, and Teresa Montgomery of Lacombe. Because I left Morin in 1966, I have asked my brothers and sisters to share some of their memories of Tom with me. I hope I do them justice. In their early years, Tom and Ellen were quite the pair. I remember them riding around the yard on the back of an old sow. Ellen said they used to hide on Pat, who was almost 2 years younger than Tom. She's not. Other activities were hiding in the corn and eating peas and building forts out of the straw bales. One time they wanted a skating rink, so they caused the float on the cattle's watering trough to stick. It overflowed and the water froze, causing a major problem with the steers in the feedlot. They couldn't walk and their legs were all splayed up. Dad couldn't figure out how that float got stuck. Ellen and Tom loved to be on the water, so they would put our old green rowboat into the sloop. Since it had a hole at the bottom, they had to take turns bailing while the other rowed. Ellen also remembers them picking rocks and then going swimming in the river. We belonged to the 4-H Beef Club for many years. Tom mainly looked after the calves and spent hours taming them so they could be led by the rest of us in the Drumheller show. Tom even had a grand championship calf one year. He went to school in Morin, and best friends were Sam Curry, Doug Hampton, Blair Hodgson, and cousin Kurt Joseph west of Olds. I'll bet they have some stories to tell us. I remember Ellen and I pooling our 4-H calf money to buy a small second-hand car. We drove around for the summer, then I left for university. When I returned for the following summer, our car had been traded in for a better car for Tom. He was driving to Drum to go to the Drum Composite High School, which offered trades. Tom loved to start loved to hunt, starting with gophers and magpies. And there really wasn't a magpie left around the farm. We were pretty well cleared out. And then he moved on to bigger game. I have pictures of Tom and friends riding horseback in the foothills while hunting. He also loved fishing, probably picked up from Dad. In later years, Tom flew Dad and Mike to northern Saskatchewan for a fishing trip. There's a picture of them enjoying themselves, excuse me, which hung at home for many years. Another interest was playing crib. I remember Ellen and Tom winning a crib tournament at Sunbeam, so the rules were changed to have only adults win. Not fair. Mom was so mad, she went out and bought them trophies. Pat told me she was swimming at Pine Lake and tried to reach the platform where the others were. Finding it a bit far, she decided to stand up and ended up sinking. Tom rescued her and got her back to shore. Apparently, Tom was a pretty good swimmer. Teresa told me that Bill wanted to ride a calf. So we asked Teresa, who was about 6, to hold the calf. The calf stepped forward on Teresa's foot and she blacked out. She came to, with Tom carrying her at a run for the house and then driving her to the hospital in Drum. I know that Tom traveled to Australia with Sam Curry and others to visit Leroy Curry. He really enjoyed the trip. Tom bought a farm at Machichi and married Peggy Olson on July 3rd, 1971. They had 2 sons, Kevin and Michael. And I remember many Christmas dinners with them when I would come down to visit, come down from Edmonton. Peggy and the boys moved out to Drum and then to Calgary, and they were divorced in '84. But Tom continued to farm. He had a garden and several cats, apparently for controlling the mice around there. I was impressed that he grew asparagus, among other things. Tom became a pilot, got his own plane, and then took up crop dusting. He worked for Jerry Murray and flew out of the Drumheller Airport. He got really good at crop dusting because he was willing to fly close to the ground. Teresa told me he took her and Ellen up for a ride in his plane. Apparently he flew straight up and then back down and did some rolls and some loops. Teresa said she really enjoyed the ride, but Ellen was not impressed and just wanted to get back to land. Bill told me that Tom flew them out to Saskatchewan where a prospective buyer wanted to try out the plane. Bill, who was on the ground, noticed as they were flying back towards the airport that a wing would dip and almost touch the ground, and then the other one would. It looked pretty scary. Suddenly the plane turned into the wind and set down. Bill heard later from Tom that Tom took over the controls to land the plane. That the guy who had a license, but he didn't know how to fly. Tom was also a good snowmobiler and did well in several races. I am sure that these stories are just the tip of the iceberg where Tom is concerned. I hope others will share their stories with us. In 2014, Tom decided to retire. He sold the farm and moved to Moore, where he built a Cadillac garage nicer than his house. 5 years later, he was unable to continue on his own, so moved to Drum Hospital, continuing care. His health continued to decline, and eventually he was bedridden. It was both a blessing and a tremendous loss when Tom passed away as he certainly didn't have any quality of a life at the end. He will be missed.
Thank you, Carol. That was a very good overview of Tom's life, and it does kind of lead into some stories. I think there's going to be a consistent theme here. When you talked about planes and some of the potential wildness, I think that's what we're here for. We're looking for action. So on that note, I think probably everybody in this room that spent any time with Tom likely has a story to tell. So to get the ball rolling, we have my Uncle Doug, who you mentioned in your story as one of Tom's friends, also known as Who, who will get things started by sharing some stories of his time spent with Tom, aka Tommy Woo. There's a little bit of a rhythm to that whole thing. I think Doug's probably going to do a little presentation. Sam and June Curry have submitted some stories, but they were unable to attend today. So Doug is going to relay that first and then get into his stories. So with that, the floor is yours, Doug. Please come up.
Good day, everybody. Okay, Sammy, he sent me this story. He says, our friend Tom. Tom and I started life quite close together as our mothers were in the hospital at the same week. Myself coming into this world 4 days before Tom. Our families had known each other for some time before we were born. We both had older sisters. Once we were all in school, we seen each other more of each other. When our dads would get together, we boys got the opportunity to sit and listen to the fishing and hunting tales, which held us captivated for sure. There was the exciting action-filled tales of how they succeeded or how it was missed. The biggest fish, coyote, deer, or whatever. I remember being 8 to 10 years old and Dad's over one nice winter day and said he was taking Tom fishing to Pine Lake. That was quite a trek in a 1957 four-door sedan. Dad's got us all rigged up. Tom seemed to know all the tricks because he had been there before. I caught my first fish that day, thanks to Tom's dad. Tom caught 4 to 5. Vance was trying to catch some big pike, which he did, but said he had caught bigger pike. My little perch, I'm sure, was little brother to Jaws. Fun times. Times like this sealed our friendship. We got the privilege to ride along with our dad, scouting the countryside for coyotes, partridge, pheasants. We were the bird dogs, or would drag the coyotes back to the truck or car, complete with fleas. When we got a year or so older, the dads would send us pushing the bush to shake out sneaky big whiteheads. We were both thinking we should have guns, but we had some growing up to do. Tom's 2 older sisters would ride their bikes, and of course, Tom over to our house. Tom had got a new pellet gun by this time. Maybe we were 13 by now. My dad gave us the rules straight up. You kill it, you clean it. We had lots of unsuspecting pigeons. We managed to reduce the flock by about a dozen or so. Dad relaxed the rules a bit so we could only keep the breasts, and the cats and the dogs got the rest. Mom made us pigeon pie, complete with dumplings on top. All 12 of those little chests and gravy and dumplings. It was actually pretty good. We did cut back on the number of actual kills we reported. The cats could pluck them just as fine as we could. About this time, I had purchased a new, to me, 3-speed racing pedal bike from Tom's cousin. I proudly pedaled it over to Tom's. I get there and find out Tom is the proud owner of a Honda 90 trail bike. What an awesome unit. I got some wild rides, checked it out pretty thorough, but it was time to head home. Tom said, no problem. I'll give you a tow. I'm not sure why I agreed. We doubled up some binder twine, and away we go. I'm being towed by a Honda 90, flat out. I can still see him looking back over his shoulder with his big grin. It doesn't go as bad as it could have. The bike's front rim never recovered from its wobble for the rest of its life. When we were 14 or 15, my dad, being an old country vet, always had doctoring to do. Tom was always called upon as a wrangler to help catch and hold the cows or the pigs. Tom pleaded with Dad to teach him how to perform emasculations of pigs and bull calves. Tom got lots of practice and soon became a skilled surgeon. And later we would do surgery on he and pig's critters. Tom was the resident surgeon and the rest of us were just wranglers. They hosted many branding experiences. Tom's dad would get us stooking bales behind the baler, then hauling them in. They had an old prefect car, some type of British import. We would work it out when we had a chance, and Tom eventually got it going. Tom was able to practice his driving skills in the field, only of course. There were rumors of high-speed exits from the town of Warren. There were some rumors of townspeople giving chase only to have the vehicle vanish out of sight. There were various accounts of incredible speed and agility of a suspected older military vehicle being chased by townspeople. These unsolved mysteries may never have been proved, as they all happened before the summer of 1967. That was a centennial year for Canada, so it's hard to say. During the summer of 1967, Tom turned 16. Now he could drive himself around. Tom's dad found him, I believe, a 1963 or 64 Acadian four-door. A little red one, white roof. It came complete with a 194 six-cylinder, 3 on the tree. Now Tom had freedom. Styling all happened at once. The trunk could hold all his guns. He would be ready for anything. Tom took his high school in Drumheller. At that time, there was a vocational type school, mechanics, electrical, hairdressing, etc. Tom had to test that Acadia at every opportunity. I'm still not sure if the GM engineers knew how fast that 3-speed on the tree gearbox could be shifted. It was surprising to see how far that 194 cubic inch 6-bagger could launch that little red Acadia. I lost miserably every race with our 1950 Meteor flathead V8, 3 on the tree. I then tried with our 1957 Meteor 223 6-bagger, 3 on the tree. But Tom's little red Acadian could kill me. Tom trained in this little red Acadian for a couple of years, all the while scouting for more power. He came home with a 1966 Beaumont Acadian SD, SS 396 350 horsepower. It was like, no way, you what? Whoa, this is serious. I think Tom lost interest in skinning rats and coyotes that fall. What an awesome car. There were lots of stories, races and chases. Smoke shows were not an issue. One day Tom got hold of a pair of real skinny tires, takeoffs from some vehicle, brand new. We put them on the rear. It would do like a quarter-mile smoke show. We slipped on Drumheller, smoked up and down town, headed back home before things went sideways. By 9 o'clock, the tires were burned down to quarters. We never took one home. We both managed to get through high school. We kept up our hunting trips for deer, ducks, and geese. We tried to fit in a pheasant shoot here and when we could. Tom's dad got him interested in some farmland, and they found some down near Machichi. They got that all lined up for the next season. Tom had taken some time going to school, cultivating a friendship with Piggy Olson from Munson. Tom and Peg were married in July of 1971. Tom and Peg came to our place many times. My dad was excited for Tom's new bride and what that held with Tom's newly acquired property at Machichi. When Kevin, Tom and Peg's firstborn, came into the world, my dad was very excited for them. Kevin was like my dad's grandson, as my brother's children were in Australia. Dad was always excited to see Kevin going through his growing stages. In no time, he was crawling around our house. Peg was gracious to bring him down for Dad many times. Peg had all the family gadgets for his new babies. It baffled Dad to see all the fancy things he called them. It wasn't too long and he had his brother Mike. Dad knew all the parents and grandparents. He was always saying they look alike, this side, that side. It was fun to see my dad so excited. Fast forward a few years. Tom would fly through our yard and there were no power poles, and Dad would scold him profusely. But Tom would do it again and again. Dad was sure Tom touched the wheels in the center of the yard, scold him again and tell him to be careful. Thank you for the privilege to say a few words. There's not enough paper. And that's from Sam. Okay, June, Sam's wife put this note in. Sam and I had been dating for a few months, and I was attending a university in Edmonton in the fall of 1974. When Tom passed his flying requirements for his license and received notification that it was available for mail out for pickup at the legislature building. Tom must have thought having it in his hand would be the sooner the better. So who could resist that charming smile of his? When he asked me, a country girl who didn't understand the Edmonton bus route, to pick it up, I couldn't refuse. By taxi cab, I went money out of my own pocket into downtown Edmonton, into the legislature building, fumbling to find the right department, and then asking for his license. I can't remember having any written consent from Tom, but I left the building with said license in hand. That weekend, when I was back at home, I think Tom had prearranged a double date with Sam and I. He was so excited to open the envelope, and that smile of his beamed from ear to ear. Tom had quite a flying career, and many times over the years, he landed on the country road and taxied into our yard for a coffee and a visit. Okay, now you're going to hear a bunch of crap from me. Like this happened 60 years ago. But I got most of it back in my head. We never did end up jail, so. Okay, Tom was the true friend, which started back in probably 1966. When we ended up in grade 9 in modern school, it was kind of like, let the party begin. There were 4 of us that traveled together quite often. Tom, me, Sammy Curry, and Jim DeValorella, a.k.a. Hunch. Somehow he acquired that name because he was the shortest. Anyway, back then, Tom and myself decided to purchase a snowmobile through Tom's uncle in Warren. We bought an Element snowmobile for $650, which came in a crate, brand new. We assembled it, and the fun began. Tom had it one week, and I had it the next. 30 to 40 mile per hour was the top speed. On weekends, the 4 of us would get together and go coyote hunting. Even Vance would come along now and then. Sam, Tom, and Vance were all crack shooters. Of course, we always brought refreshments along for the hunting. Back in those years, we got lots of snow, so you could always find a spot to go over the fences. Most of those years, we ended up with 60 to 80 to 120 or more frozen coyotes, which we skinned out and sold. Hides were worth $60 to $120 a pellet. One buyer from Rocky Ford area tried to rip us off. Tom got even with him. Tom loves speed. A trip to Drum from their farm was only 10 minutes or less. He had a 1963 Acadian first, which wasn't fast enough. Then he got a 1966 Beaumont with a 396 engine, which flew like the wind. The cops got to know his car. They couldn't catch him, but they knew where he lived. Many times they showed up at the farm looking for Tom. Tom went to the vocational school in Drum for Porter's High School, taking mechanics. Anyway, on the farm, Vance had an old Willys Jeep, a 2-seater with a small box in the back. Tom got this running, and away we went. Tom, Hunch, Sam, and myself. It was getting dark, and into morning we go. After zipping up and down the streets, we ended up on the south end of town, in the ball diamonds, which were surrounded by snow fences. So after racing around the diamonds a few times, we decided to try the snow fences. After flattening most of them, we seen one of the town fathers come walking out. It was time to let loose. Somewhere in town, we had picked up Jim Burnett. He was riding in the box in the back with us. So up through the center of town, we shot 30 miles per hour. We seen a truck backing away from the hotel, which was on the south side of Main Street, and the pursuit began. Straight north, past Kenny's place. This truck had caught up. I says to Tom, "Do you want me to kick his headlights out?" By then we were doing the S-curve and up to the dump and out into the field. Hooked onto a barbed wire fence and stopped by the dump. We could hear the truck pursuer cussing and swearing. They landed on a rock pile on the curb, on the S-curve. We got the barbed wire unhooked. Luckily the Jeep started, and away we did go. 1.5 miles north and then east. The road to the east was a trail and very bumpy. Jim Burnett bounced out on this stretch. I says to Tom, "We lost Jim." Tom looks at Hunch and says, "Jim who?" we backed up, got Jim and carried on back to the farm and hit the Jeep. Got into the car and disappeared. I think Van's got a bill for the snow fence. Tom had quite an imagination, probably with our help. He got his 3-ton truck out, put stock racks on it, a tarp over the top, pails in the back, along with a keg of beer, and we all went on a traveling party. Two drums each tomorrow, etc. Tom also had music and lights hooked up in the back. A lot of fun was had. Another trip I recall was Tom, Sam, Hunch, Dave Noble, and myself on a tear. We were heading to Calgary for something to eat. Decided to stop at Rocky Ford for booze. Tom ran into some classmates who had a pile of booze. So out of Rocky Ford we went on a back road to a party. 5 to 6 hours later, we headed home up Highway 21. Gogo let loose, puke everywhere. Stopped at junction 21 and 27. Cleaned things up a bit. I said, throw him in the ditch. But we didn't. We got back to Sammy's place, and Hunch was hungry. He found this nice-looking cake that Mrs. Curry had made, and had a piece. We may have all have sampled it. It turned out it was made for the dogs. Anyway, I got to drive Dave's car back to Moore, his new 1969 Mach 1. We left him in his car in the driveway in Moore. We didn't want to run into the parents. As the years moved forward, we never realized Tom had fallen in love. Tom, Hunch, and myself took a trip down to see Old Faithful in Yellowstone. Took a look and came back home, all in 2 days' time. That was a quick trip. Back in the early 70s, Tom acquired his private pilot's license and bought a Cessna 150, which he kept on his farm at Chichi. My brother Tom went to visit him, and Tom took him for a ride. Off the dirt strip they went, climbing. Then Tom pushed the nose down towards the hills just west of his farm. Brother Tom said the dust and the dirt was just a flying. Tom loved flying, taking people up, and showing them his skills. Dive bombing different farms, even flying under the Morton Bridge. Tom Hampton, Brian LaPont, and myself all got our pilot's licenses, and around that time also. The four of us vested in the Cessna 172, the four-seater. The cost of pleasure flying got to be too expensive, so eventually we sold the plane. But Tom carried on and got his crop dusting license and did that for many years. Tom was a very true friend. When my wife was dying, Tom wanted to come and see Brenda. Billy brought Tom up for one last visit. Neither Tom or Brenda were in good shape. Our groupie of four is down to 2 now, and life is still good. Until we meet again, rest in peace, Tom.
Thank you, Doug. That was very moving and kind of stole the thunder on my quick story. I actually was kind of looking at this whole thing, and if you guys are looking at me, you're probably thinking, he's probably about the same age as Tom. And I haven't aged well. Genetics just didn't turn out as good as what Doug had, but anyway, I had phoned Dad to get some stories, and Dad actually gave me that same story that you're talking about with the Cessna 150, and I'll just kind of summarize the end of it, because Dad said it was one hell of a ride. So they went with this 150. He says it's a beautiful plane. We took a look at it, and it's got lots of power, of course, and Tom definitely wanted to demonstrate it, so he did exactly what Doug's talking about. He says they take off the road, they go straight up, pretty much stall the damn plane, said as they were coming down, the papers and whatever else happened to be in the back of that plane was flying towards the front and going through, and Tom, he just goes through his whole business and pulls this thing out of this spin issue that they're in, and definitely straight ahead towards the hill, and just like you said, dirt flying straight over it. And then he's got to try and buzz the farmyard, so that was the next part. And it's like, okay, done, hit the road, and they ended up hopping into Tom's car. And as you mentioned, like 10 minutes from, I guess, Vance's to Drum, that's like 15 minutes from Machichi to Drum. Because then he had some adult beverages, so it was like just a hell of a road trip. So anyhow, I asked Dad if he was scared of this whole thing, and he said, well, not really. But he also said if he'd mentioned this to Tom, he said Tom would have made sure that the next ride was even wilder. I think Tom thanks so thought and thank the hell to come up with that. It's a good one. But anyway, no, I believe Tom definitely had that free-spirited kind of live life for the moment sort of attitude, and that is something I guess we're here for a pretty short time. Sometimes you need to live on the edge to live a little bit of life, so that's all good. At this point, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people who mentioned that this is about stories and stuff like that. If anybody would like to come up and share an experience that you've had with Tom, now is your time. Any takers?
Hi everyone, Pete Cartman. I had the pleasure of sharing a plane with Tom for the last 20 or 30 years. So he more or less taught me the ropes. So the first couple of times I went up with Tom, I noticed that Tom was pretty comfortable flying real close. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Yeah. Well, anyway, the first time we went up, I kind of noticed that Tom was pretty comfortable flying close to the ground. So I kind of leaned over and says, geez, Tom, when I was learning, I said, my instructor told me, he said, you never go low and slow. I said, is that true? He looks over, no, that's bullshit. So anyway, as time went on, got used to it, and so then I think it was about mid-90s, we went for a trip up to Yellowknife to see Seb and Deb. So we got about, well, Tommy smoked steadies, and Deb was in the back seat getting sick, so I said, any chance you could maybe just smoke when we stop? Well, he says, I can try that, but I haven't done that too often. So anyway, it went pretty good, and we got about up to Great Slave Lake. There's forest fires up there, and visibility is terrible, and so I think we got fuel in Hay River, and talked to the guy there. He says, well, he says, you know, most of these single airplanes would always go around the lake, you know, over the water. Right? So we get up in the air and get going, and Tommy says, well, we should be able to cut her a little bit shorter, don't you think? So I did, right? So we get over this, going over the water, and going for quite a ways. I keep looking at my watch. So I don't know, Thomas, I'm kind of thinking we should go this way a little bit more. Tommy says, you know, I was thinking the same thing, but I was thinking this way. So anyway, we get holding our heading, and sure enough, sooner or later we hit trees. So I feel a little better, got over the ground anyway. So anyway, as soon as we get over the trees, Tom's right over the deck, just going over the tops of these trees. And I look over at him. So I don't know, Tom, I don't know if we'll be able to see a tower out here, if there's any microwave towers or something. Yeah, good point, he says. So he brings her up a little bit, and it's all smoke, we don't see anything. So finally we hit the main highway going into Yellowknife, and Tom, he was flying that way. He puts a big bank, he puts her over the double lane highway, and we're just over the top of the trucks. And he looks over at me, he says, you ever seen a tower in the middle of a highway? Nope, don't think I have. No, me neither, he says. So anyway, he was a great character to be flying with, and we're all going to miss him, so thanks.
Thanks, Pete. That was great. Anybody else?
Tom did like to go fast. I'm Jody Olson. I'm Peg's sister-in-law, and we were dating about the same time. Mel and I had just gotten engaged, and there was going to be the raft race, and the guys needed life jackets. Tom goes, Mom and Dad have them on the farm. So it was the July 1st weekend, so naturally we had beverages in the trunk. And but anyways, we came up around Morn, and we were on the North Road going to Van Sinclair's place. Tom goes, that's a cop coming down the road. Hit it, Mel. So Mel had a Dodge Swinger that would go very well. And so naturally, it was a cop car. Tom was right. And they followed us. Tom goes, slow down, Mel. Turn down this road. It wasn't a road, it was just a road allowance, but they hate that road, so Tom knew the road quite well. So he's going, slow down here now, there's a bad bump. Well, the cops followed us down that road. They didn't know the road, Tom did. So anyways, we got to Van Sinclair's, we lost the cops, we thought. Got the life jackets, headed back this way, the cops are sitting there waiting for us. Pull us over. We got little Kimmy. Anybody that knew Murray and Margie, they had this little dog. Kind of a vicious thing, but he was kind of sweet too. Anyways, he's in the car with us. Cops jump out. They got their guns pulled on us. They're going, oh my God. Anyways, they said, everybody out of the car. Hands on the roof. So Mel gets out and he follows Tom and Peg, and I kind of, okay. You keep that dog under control or he's dead. And we go, oh. Anyway, so the cop took Mel into his car, had the chat with him. We hadn't done anything wrong, but we figured the cops were going to have some repairs to their vehicle when they got back. So anyways, Mel's in the car with the policeman, and he puts his keys up on the dashboard. And then the cops took off and left us there really fast. And Mel gets back to the car, no keys. So we sit there and we wait and we wait. Luckily, I had a spare set in my purse. Otherwise, I think they left us there all night. They were pretty ticked off at us. But that was kind of one of the funny experiences that we had through our dating years. There was a few more, but that was probably one of the most interesting ones.
That's very good. Yes, I'm sure there's, was there 120 people here? There's probably 100, well, it's probably 500 stories, right? Oh, we got hurt. Tour on up.
Yeah, I got a story or two to tell about Tom. My name's Art Grenville, and Tom and I were a couple years apart, I guess. Anyway, Tom, he bought a brand new snowmobile, and it was quite cheap. I think the company was going on the business. But anyway, so he talked me into buying one too. So we both had these roughs. Anyway, Alvin Motlin, he had a racetrack over by his place, and so I think Tom was over there the week before, and Alvin's machine went a little bit faster than the old Rupp did. So anyway, Tom, he put a set of straight pipes on it, so you get a little extra rev or two, I guess. So the next weekend we were over at Alvin's, and of course we had to have a race. And like I say, Alvin's was just a touch faster than Tom and my machine. But anyway, on this track, there was the third turn. You had to slow down or you couldn't, well, you probably would like over. So we all three of us take off. And, so Tom, he's on Alvin's rear end there. So this third turn's coming up. And the only way he's going to beat him is to not let up. Well, he didn't let up, but he didn't stay on the track. The bloody machine did a complete flip, and Tom was flipping with it. I thought he was going to get killed. So that was one of the stories. But like Tom, he liked to win and he liked to go fast. And another time, in the summertime, I was haying with picking up bales with one of these small bale pickup machines, and it was a New Holland. And anyway, one of my parts broke down. I can't remember what the hell it was now, but anyway, I had to go to Brooks to get the damn thing. So I thought, well, Tom's got an airplane. I'll see if he can give me a ride down there. So yeah, he said sure. So we head down there, and I phoned for a taxi from the airport, I guess it was, and went in, got the part, and come back, and I think the taxi fare was more than the part. Anyway, on the way back, we had to have a beer or two, and we're flying along, and Tommy rolls down the window and drops the empty egg. I assume that the bottle probably broke, but if it didn't, the guy would have to wonder, how the hell did that bottle of beer get out here? But Tom, he was a character, and like you've heard so far, he was a good guy to party with and to hang around with.
Very fun team. Anybody else?
I'll do one from the table here. One of my most earliest formative memories were his dad dropped us in the middle of the back seat. I don't think he was even born yet. I just these memories. Dad looks around and that big grin that you guys keep talking about. I was like, you want to go real fast? Let's go up and down those hills real fast. And you see the red and blue lights on the hood of the car. Those lights get farther away. You go over the hills. It's like, wee, let's go faster. The lights would get dimmer and dimmer. But yeah, that's how we got to it.
Yes, well, I think we've probably come to a point in the program here that we'll maybe wrap some things up. So I think the bottom line is it's quite safe to say Tom was definitely a free spirit. He liked to live probably a bit on the edge, and he had many adventures. So family would like to thank everyone for attending and invite you to stay and enjoy some food and beverages while you catch up with each other and share a few more stories. I'm sure there could be plenty, and I was just thinking my dad was telling me a story about Sam maybe being in an airplane, and I think they did a little coyote hunting at one point, but Doug probably knows a little bit more about that, but we'll just kind of leave that for the floor. But anyway, while we break here for beverages and lunch, the family's gonna share a glimpse into Tom's life and pictures. So there'll be a slideshow playing up on screen that you certainly make sure you take a look and see Tom when he's got hair, or probably see him when he's little, and see him a little bit later on. So anyway, thank you to everyone on behalf of the family, and I guess let's enjoy the rest of the afternoon. When we grab a drink, we can have a toast to Tom. Thank you.
How to scan.